Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did you just spit all over that?
No.
Oof. Welcome back, Beerlievers, to the Don't Stop Beerlieving podcast. I'm Chris. That's Michael. Thanks for tuning into the episode 10 of Season 1. We're glad you are all here, drinking beer with us, talking beer with us. Got a great show planned for today. Mike, what have you been up to?
Oh, man, what have I been up to? I have been looking for the new spot in town. As you guys know, I just don't like going into cities, but now that the weather's kind of warming up a little bit, though today was chilly, I've really been trying to find some place to go to in Baltimore City. And I heard about this place called, and I might be pronouncing this completely incorrectly, but it's called Decline Duivel. And I heard about this from a friend. And apparently it's like a Belgian beer hall, specialty craft beer place. And the thing is, I went to one of these in Philly and it was phenomenal. And you find the things that you don't easily find in other places.
Yeah.
Things from Belgium, from France, from monasteries all over that region that are not really available, which is really nice to do for a town like Baltimore, like anywhere. It's a real, it might be like a real beer fanatic, real craft snobs place, but that's where I live now, so I want to try it out.
You said new spot. I just imagine somebody going around painting a spot somewhere in Baltimore. You're found that's the new one. That spot was not here last week.
It's the black spot,
Well, that's great. Yeah, breweries opening up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those lucrative businesses in some ways. You either do really well, it seems, you kind of struggle.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's the margins are there. You can totally make some money here, but
yeah.
You're not going to become rich unless you try. Unless you really are planning on going all the way, becoming some kind of larger production. But otherwise, you can hit the numbers as long as you listen to your community. Mm-hmm. You got to listen to the beer drinkers. You got to pander to the local people because those are going to be the feet in the door.
Totally.
But yeah, we can talk about beer business down the line. But yeah,
that could be interesting. Because I know obviously that's something you want to eventually get into, and we're partners in crime on that. So whatever.
Oh yes, we are business partners in crime. Which
business partners in crime?
Yeah,
that's just the worst combination ever.
That doesn't work. Shut down immediately.
Exactly.
But the thing about this place is that it might be my only avenue to a certain beer that released about a couple weeks ago now. It's called Pliny the Younger. And
Mike, before we get into Pliny,
yes,
we have a challenge to talk about.
Okay.
Right? We have a big challenge of last week. We don't want to overlook this. We've gotten 10 episodes. Why forget it now?
Yeah. 10 episodes. Can you imagine? Can you believe it?
No, stop it.
Can you believe it, guys?
The challenge of last week was to really put on your creative beer hat and do a beer pairing for a meal. So make an appetizer, an entree, dessert, and try to pair a beer with each of those things. Hopefully you guys were able to go out and do that successfully. But Mike, want to say a bit about that challenge? I think you talked a bit about your beer pairing, obviously, because that was for the Valentine's Day dinner,
right,
correct?
Exactly. Yeah, and also I usually do this with some of the waiters or bartenders I have when I'm eating food, is I'll talk to them, and it depends on the establishment you go to, but sometimes they actually really like when you're that engaged about the product and you're not just blindly ordering food. I know that this was definitely the case for a wine spot where they specialize in wine, and they actually have thousands of bottles on the wall, and so they want you guys to really appreciate the bottle you're going to purchase. And I think similarly, this is going to happen for beer, and it's definitely the experience I have whenever I go out. And it might just be the spots that I choose, but really developing a menu to enhance both the beer and the food and the experience as a whole. Yeah, it's just a really nice practice to start looking into.
Yeah. Well, we hope you guys did that successfully, and please comment below with what you guys came up with, or shoot your menus over to our email address, don'tstopbeerleaving@gmail.com. We would love to read those and potentially even try them out.
Oh, yeah.
If you had some good combinations. But yeah, so moving on, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off. No. But, when you're not following the script, we just have to go back to the...
I'm just so excited about this beer, and I apparently should be, and I haven't even had it yet.
Yeah, well, for you craft beer enthusiasts out there, I'm sure you know of this release or have been following it a decent amount, even if you don't live right near the actual brewery. But Pliny the Younger has been a pretty interesting release. The way they've been kind of putting out propaganda on this beer, and
Propaganda.
it seems like propaganda. The way they're just like, this is the godsend beer. Like you will not you'll not dislike it, and but, I mean, it looks great. The brewery seems to be doing very well as well.
So so if you haven't heard, they dropped their 2020 batch a couple weeks ago in early February, and the lines from the brewery themselves. This is a spot, Russian River Brewing Company in California. The lines were out the door, around the building, and I think even further beyond. Like, it's just insane, the hype about this beer. And, people will wait up to an hour for this beer in line and then finally get a table, drink this beer, in 30 minutes that you're done with it. And I think they actually have limits to how many you can have. I think you can only have one per person at the sitting, and then maybe you can have one more later down the day if you can make it again. But like it seems kind of insane, right? Like no one really has that kind of enthusiasm about beer anymore, or about a specific beer, because this releases. I don't know if it's every year, but I mean it's an often thing.
You don't think? I mean, people are standing in the lines.
Yeah,
so they must, right? They must have that kind of enthusiasm.
No, exactly. Yeah, and so people will do this. They'll pick up. And actually, this is a new thing. This 2020 is that they're actually allowing bottles to be sold to go off premise. So usually you just have to drink the draft right there. Can't take any home with you. And when it's done, it's done. Like, that's the batch for that bar. And because they distribute to a couple of select breweries, our bars. And one of them, I think, was declined, so I have to go there. But the thing is, now they have bottles to go. So my Facebook groups that I'm in on for craft beer have been spiking with beer trades for this beer. Everyone's looking for it. Everyone's taking pictures and showing off their, I was able to get one. Can you? And they're 4-packs, so there's some of them are, I think, usually it's a 4-pack with one gone, so they just tried one fresh. And then they're going to probably age one over the next, year, maybe 2 years or something like that.
Release it again.
And then maybe trade one. I don't
know.
So
talk a bit about that beer. Like what style is
What's
it?
So crazy about it? I mean, so Pliny the Younger is Pliny the Elder's kind of like, protege. So Pliny the Elder, if you ever had it, is just a double IPA, sitting around an 8%, very much in style, very balanced in terms of IPA, but a higher bitterness. This takes that beer just to the next level. So it's a triple IPA. It's sitting more at like a just above 10% alcohol content by volume. And it's just, what I hear about it, because again, I have not had it.
Yeah.
What I hear about it is I think one of the descriptors that I heard was it's ambrosia. It's just a perfect, clean rendition of the triple IPA. It's just perfection. We have this nice malt backbone that's sweet and very complex, that's then just brought to a perfect, more bitter level, more hoppier level by a conglomeration of different hops. I think we're talking Simcoe, Amarillo, Citra, Mosaic, and even more that they're not going to say on the you can't say the entire recipe, right?
Sure.
On the bottle, but it's just a whole conglomeration of different things that just makes apparently the best IPA, triple IPA out there.
And it seems like people have bought in. They've liked it.
For sure.
The worst thing you can do is when you hype up a beer like this, people go and then go, this beer's not very good.
Yeah, sure. That's the funny thing.
It's a risk, right?
Is when I was doing some of the research on this, I was Googling, Pliny the Younger, Russian River Brewing Company, and is it worth it? Like, a lot of the next Google searches was, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? And so many people are saying yes, outright. And not a lot of people are about waiting an hour in line for a beer that you're probably going to finish, in less than time than that.
Yeah, I want to get into that. Like, is that something that should be the case in the craft beer industry? Like, should we actually be pushing this kind of like insane obsession with these can releases, these can drops, these draft releases if they're just a draft release? Is that something we actually, I don't know, think is good for the craft beer industry, or is this just an insane overhype of something that really should just calm down a bit? People should spread out. There's a lot of great beer out there. Do we need to stand in the line for an hour just to get one we like? Well,
so it's actually really great for craft breweries that have a kind of cult following for these types of beers, because if they can consistently make a really good beer, and every year they can get a huge spike in traffic, that's great for the craft for the brewery. In terms of just the mindset, or maybe a bandwagon mindset. I don't think we've hit that with certain beers yet. Pliny the Younger is definitely worth it, is my opinion. Every article I've read, every blog I've read is saying, yeah, it's not an awesome thing to wait in line, especially if you're at a place that's got snow on the ground right now. I mean, it's February or rain, but it's worth it. Do it one time and you'll see. Apparently, I gotta try it. I'm gonna see if I can get it here in Baltimore. I know that my friend up in PA got one at Monk's Cafe. It's a very well-known place. You PA listeners probably already know it. They actually already kicked theirs, so that
really?
one's done. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I think from my perspective, I am not this crazy craft beer enthusiast, right? But I actually think it's a very good thing for the craft beer industry.
Good.
I don't think it's a problem at all. And I think people that maybe look at it from the outside might judge it or go, oh, this is ridiculous. There's no way that beer is actually any better than something I can get down at the craft beer supermarket or something. Or I don't think there are craft beer supermarkets, but the closest bottle shop or supermarket that has a good selection of craft beer. But I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's necessarily about, oh, this beer is 10 times better than any other beer I can get. I think it's about the culture, and it's about the just adventure of trying new things and building hype for the sake of what's the word I'm looking for? When something's like rare, right? It increases its value.
Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusivity. That's what I was looking for. And I don't know, with anything like collecting baseball cards or really niche like Star Wars fans or something. I'm not liking obviously beer people to those groups, but it's the same thing where it's really healthy for building a love of the industry. And it's really healthy for building a love of craft beer.
It shows support for the creators. Like what we did a few weeks ago when we went to go see Andrew Ray of Binging with Babish. We waited in line to go see this guy. We actually got there much earlier and had a drink and made sure that we had a good spot.
Yeah.
And people were lined up, by the hundreds, by the thousands to see this man. It just helps show your appreciation for them. Helps and you get some exclusive things. This doesn't unfortunately happen to every craft brewery. I mean, I can't remember the time. This might have been before I was super into craft beer when beer hype was such a thing that lines would be out the door. I do remember that one time where this was a beer that we had talked about on the show before. MVP by Hysteria Brewing got a crowd that went out the door and just a little bit around the building. But I hadn't seen that in so long. That kind of baffled me. I was like, why would you wait so long for this beer? You know, and it just shows an appreciation for the craft, for the creator, and for these small businesses that are independently owned.
I totally agree, and not to go off on a tangent here, but I think the fact that people are willing to stand in line on a Saturday, right, and wait all that time to have one beer, it's just another indicator that this is not just some kind of like alcoholic obsession, right? These aren't people that are just obsessed with drinking alcohol, and I know that's not really the point of what we're talking about here, but I think it's important to point out as well, like this is a true craft, like this is a true like art form, and it should be, again, back to the few episodes back, like this should be respected and like treated the way that it kind of deserves to be treated based upon how much effort can go into making a lot of this stuff.
Sure.
That's important to remember. These people are giving up time to literally do that.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason. It's not just the fact that there's alcohol in it. Because if that was the case, they would just go to 7-Eleven, they would just go to the supermarket, get a case and go home.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. But that's interesting. And we want to know your thoughts. Let us know if you've had it. We want to know. If you have a bottle, let us know.
Yeah, let us know where you got it from. Just, curious.
We'll do a bottle trade for you. But comment below what you think as well about waiting in line an hour for craft beer.
Yeah.
Is this something you would do? Do you think it's ridiculous? All opinions are welcome. But this brings us to another item that Mike and I saw recently, which is a study that was done by, I forget the website. We'll link it below.
Right.
About the the favorite craft beer in every state. They did a national top 5 craft beers. I think that was New Belgium, Boston Beer Company, Goose Island, Dogfish Head, and there's one right before Dogfish Head, which was what?
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada, of course, yeah.
So those it's not craft. This is just top breweries.
Top 5 breweries
in America.
Yeah, in America. Pretty good, pretty strong.
I mean,
top
number
5
one,
list there.
New Belgium.
Yeah.
Independently owned, women owned. that's an awesome thing.
Yeah,
Awesome
that is
thing to
pretty
see.
cool.
The fact that we had, I think two of those are at least are still independent craft. Sierra Nevada and New Belgium, obviously. Sam Adams' Boston Beer Company is now big.
Yeah.
And they bought Dogfish Head at the fifth of that list.
So I guess they were recently independent.
Right. Which is still.
And some would argue have decent independence still, even under the...
So I think I saw something recently in my craft beer groups that are saying they'll start producing a new beer under the Boston Beer name. Like, not a new beer, but I think they're revamping a current Sam Adams style.
Really? And putting it under the...
Still under Boston Beer Company, but Dogfish Head is going to be like putting its own like spin on it. I'll check that out for you guys. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. Cool.
But,
well, in addition to the top 5 in the states, they also had the most popular brewery in each state individually.
Yeah,
that was really interesting. And when I saw this on Facebook, I think it was the Craft Beer Lovers Facebook group. If you're not a part of that, go ahead and request to join. It's a great Facebook group. Tons of trades, like Mike mentioned, going on with different bottles and can drops and things like that, but also just great knowledge of the craft beer industry. But when I saw this post, they so many comments, like very, very opinionated comments about why the beer that was in this survey was not their favorite beer in that favorite brewery in that state. That makes sense. And I think Mike's going to talk about that a little bit in a second. But before he goes into that, a couple things to note. So this survey was done based, or not, wasn't really a survey. I guess it was more of a study. Study done based upon average Yelp reviews, Facebook likes of the brewery, Instagram followers of the brewery, and then there was one more metric.
And Yelp like ratings, like stars.
Okay.
So there's 4. It was Yelp
So I
reviews.
mentioned that.
No, it's the amount of stars, the amount of people that actually reviewed.
Oh, okay, got it.
Facebook likes and Instagram followers.
So it's not the perfect metric. It's a weird one. It's very social media based.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there's a lot of people I know that love craft beer, hate social media.
Yeah.
So how are they going to get their voice heard if it's going to be like that? So take this with a grain of salt. We'll again link it below. But some of the ones that stood out to us, we're both from Virginia. The number 1 Virginian brewery was The Veil.
The Veil.
Which we've been to, and
my favorite.
We kind of agree with it.
It's the best in Virginia.
It's really good.
I don't think it's even close.
Great experience, really cool ambiance, really great culture around it. Like, people are really coming together. They also understand this is a really awesome place.
The beer community down there also is very tight-knit, it seems.
Yes.
They all kind of get along. They do a lot of collaborations. So, yeah.
Yeah. Some other ones to note, obviously Delaware, you have Dogfish Head. I think I saw Bell's up in Michigan, and
North Carolina was Sierra Nevada, right?
Yeah, North Carolina, which is that's kind of
I saw
huge.
a lot of people upset with that one, particularly. It was weird. Yeah, they were like, "What are you talking about?" Like, and some people from other places were like, "What? They can get Sierra Nevada in North Carolina?" Like,
right?
Like, I didn't know.
Colorado, so like, how do they?
Right.
Yeah. And just to talk about beer opinions, your opinion, opinions matter in this culture, but your opinion doesn't have to be your neighbor's opinion. This is a drink that other people experience maybe differently than you. So if you're going to be taking your side on this, go ahead and remember that what you experience, what you taste, what you like is not necessarily what your neighbor's going to like. If you are actually going to the breweries themselves and you're trying to rate the experience of the thing as a whole, maybe merchandise, tourism, just ambiance, amount of foot traffic bothers you, that's totally objective. You can totally say, like, this was not a good experience to me because this, I don't, objectively having a lot of people in a bar is just not fun.
Yeah.
Especially a beer bar, like a brewery. You're trying to enjoy your beer, trying to enjoy the people around you. This isn't like going out to a club. But in terms of flavor, in terms of profile and what you like, just remember everyone has different tastes. I just want to throw that out there.
It's important. It's important to remember because,
it's important.
Again, it's one study. Like, there are plenty other out there. And Mike and I have disagreed about breweries and beers before. All the time. And there's tons that he likes that I'm like, there's no possible way you can get me to drink that.
Sure. Still getting him on sours. We're still working on that.
That's a process. I'm working my way. Again, I'm the novice here. I'm the guy that's like just tipping his toes into the craft beer scene. But yeah, let us know what you think. Again, we'll post that below. The map's really cool. I had trouble locating some of the logos. but that's okay. They were cut off. You can't tell what brewery
You
it
didn't
was.
actually recognize the Veil was Virginia's top one?
I was like, what brewery is that?
hand
Oh, it's a
flung-
Veil.
I was like, you gotta know that one, buddy.
But yeah, also I could have just looked at the list.
Yeah.
That would have helped me a lot too. All right, we'll definitely do all that. But Mike, let's go to the challenge for this upcoming week.
Sure. So we're talking a lot about beer hype. We're talking about specific beer releases, but you guys are all living in different states. You can't make it out to California to get this beer. So I want you guys to go out and see if you can find a brewery in your area that's doing a release, and go to it and see if there's a culture around it, a hype around it, a family around the brewery that constantly or consistently goes to these things. Talk to the brewers, maybe turn to your neighbor, talk to the people there, see if they really like this brewery, and learn about the story of them. It's really nice to get really more intimate knowledge about so sorry about the local places around you, and they'll appreciate it too.
Yeah, 100%. So let us know. And again, coming up next week here, be sure to comment below with where you went and what you got at the release. And quick plug here before I ask Mike what he's drinking, because we didn't talk about this. I want to know.
Sure, yes. This is actually my last bottle from my beer travels in France and Germany, from this awesome beer shop called Kiosk 45 I think this was in Munich.
Ooh.
And I did extensive research before I traveled there, because I was going with my mom, who was working. And so during the day, I just had time. And I walked miles to get here. I don't know why I didn't take the train. I actually ended up taking the train back because my bag was literally holding me back.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So that's why it took me so long to get through it, because I had so many. But this is Imperial Black Prototype. Most of it on the back here is in German. What's really funny is that the ingredients here are Wasser, which is water, Gerstenmalz, which is the type of malt, Hopfen, which is hops, and Hefe, which is wheat. So it tells you everything you need to know. Actually, Hefe is yeast. So all four ingredients you need.
The German rule, right? The
Yeah,
German beer.
well, exactly. But they actually do go into further descriptions of it. I actually can tell a lot of these, like Hopfen, it further goes down the line. Saz hops, Simcoe, Pearl, Northern Brewer hops. The rest of my German fails after that, because I just know hop names. But this is a wonderfully roasty beer. This is like deep chocolate. I mean, what do you think? This is just obviously...
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was super chocolatey.
super chocolatey.
It had actually a pretty good bitterness to it for how sweet it was as well.
I know
it's
what
a
you're
sweet
saying.
beer, but it kind of bites. It's great. Got a great aroma to it as well. The smell
when
coming
we
off the
opened it,
was
yeah.
ridiculous. It's like, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be great. Yeah.
So I would recommend it, but I doubt
Anybody can probably get it.
But yeah.
Well, if you have a chance to drink this, go ahead and get yourself a bottle.
Find yourself the prototype stout, 8% alcohol content. It's a pretty damn good beer.
Love it. So next week, everyone, is a very special week. We have our St. Patrick's Day special. We're going to be we have a lot planned for that episode, so definitely tune in.
It's a party.
We cannot wait to see what you guys were able to bring for Michael's Challenge, as well
brewed.
as, or brewed for Michael's Challenge. That's true, because there were 2 challenges. Again, we did that challenge 2 weeks in advance for this upcoming week, but you guys knew that. You're smart people. I don't have to tell you that.
You guys are avid watchers of this podcast. Come on.
Yeah. So definitely tune in for that. And as always, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, give us a subscription below, ring that bell for future notifications about our upcoming episodes, and we will see you all next week.
Cheers.